It's all coming down. The only thing that hasn't come down, but it hasn't gone up much, are interest rates, and we think the Fed should lower the rate. We think that it's a perfect time to lower the rate, and would like to see our chairman be early or on time as opposed to late. Late's not good.
Mr. President,
I don't want to talk about that because I have no intention of firing him.
Mr. President,
there are reports that you're considering doing something for moms across the country, giving them some type of bonus whenever they have a child. Are you considering that? Or are you
Sounds like a good idea to me. Yeah, please.
You have no intention of firing Jerome Powell because your economic advisor Kevin Hassett a few days ago said that you and people in the White House were studying this idea of possibly getting before his term ends.
No.
Do you have any plans on doing that?
None whatsoever. Never did. The press runs away with things. No, I have no intention of firing him. I would like to see him be a little more active in terms of his idea to lower interest rates. This is a perfect time to lower interest rates. If he doesn't, is it the end? No, it's not. But it would be good timing. It could have taken place earlier. But no, I have no intention to fire him.
we want to get more on the president's remarks just now and turn back to Michael McKee, Bloomberg International Economics and Policy Correspondent, who's back with us in our Washington, D.C. studio. So no intention, he says, though, Matt, of course, Mike, there was a massive legal question as to whether or not he would have the authority, even if he did have the intention.
Yeah, that legal question hasn't been settled. But I think you go back to the old saying out west, there ain't no education in the second kick of a mule. The story came out that he might fire Jay Powell, and you saw what happened to the markets. And I think the president and his people saw that. After he suggested it might happen, there were further stories that talked about, they've been talking about this for a long time. They're planning. They're talking to Kevin Warsh. They're talking to Kevin Hassett. And Kevin Hassett suggested as much. So I think somebody got to, maybe Scott Bessent got to the president and said, you know, you're creating your own problem here. Doesn't mean he won't eventually try to do it. But the question has always been, why bother? Because if the chairman is going to go to court and fight you, and that's going to take a while, by the time you get a decision, he's out of office anyway. His term as chair ends in May of 2026.
Well, let's remember what Donald Trump wrote on Truth Social. There can be a slowing, he said, of the economy unless Mr. Too Late, a major loser, lowers interest rates. Was he trying to get ahead of this IMF forecast that was cut today?
I don't think so. I think it is just everybody's been forecasting. And there's been so many people on Wall Street who've said we're probably going into recession. And I think the president was reacting to that. The IMF doesn't carry a huge amount of weight because so many other people on Wall Street do forecast the United States that you don't have to wait for that to react. But I think he has an antipathy for Powell because Powell doesn't cut interest rates when Donald Trump wants them cut. And that comes through very clearly. But I think he's recognized that it's not going to help him or the economy if he were to go farther.
Well, and as we're considering the IMF forecast, knowing that it does paint a more dire, not necessarily dire, but a worse off growth outlook than just months ago, Mike, is there no argument to be made that President Trump doesn't have a point, that interest rates might need to be lowered sooner rather than later, that the Fed risks being too late, knowing that monetary policy does operate with a lag?
Well, I think the Fed knows that it's going to be late. By definition, they'll be late because they have to wait and see, because we're in a situation now where both sides of their mandate are threatened. We could have growth slowing significantly, but we could also have, because of the tariffs, inflation going up. And that was exactly the point that Powell made last week in Chicago, that the Fed would have a very uncomfortable decision to make at some point. Which one do you deal with? And obviously, the president seems to care more about growth than about the inflation question. I think we've heard from the president many times that tariffs don't cause inflation. I don't know if he really believes that or not. But he doesn't seem to think the Fed should wait to see which one of those comes true. They should just cut right now.